120 miles long and 50 miles wide, Georgian Bay is a massive body of water on the northeastern side of Lake Huron. 2 hours from Toronto, the southern end of Georgian Bay is a spectacular but relatively populated cottage country. But the northern end of Georgian Bay, which was only accessible by boat until the 60s, is a much different story. Only 4 hours from Toronto, you'll find the beautiful and remote coastal village of Killarney, and an absolute wilderness paradise. As with most visitors to the area looking to get their paddle wet, our trip starts at Killarney Outfitters.
Well, we created Killarney Outfitters in 1972, shortly after Killarney Provincial Park opened in the mid-60s. We rent sea kayaks and canoes, and our great forte is complete outfitting.
We set up everyone with their food, their camping gear, paddling gear, the trip planning service. So we take care of all the reservations and do a little write-up of, what you're going to see in each lake. We also sell ice cream, which is a big, big seller for most people.
The good thing about working at Killarney Outfitters is everybody that works there has that same kind of attitude and interest in the outdoors, and they're out there doing it. So when you're talking to somebody who works there, it's somebody who's been out in the backcountry and knows what the portages are and knows how the equipment's going to perform.
They couldn't make coming to the Killarney area and experiencing any of the cool trips any easier.
Killarney itself is one of the oldest communities in Northern Ontario. We have the best of both worlds. We have the La Cloche mountain range approaching 2,000 feet above sea level running through our backyard, and our front yard is some of the most pristine waters on the Great Lakes.
Killarney Provincial Park, the gateway to some of the country's most spectacular and pristine wilderness.
The tripping in Killarney Provincial Park is really an incredible wilderness experience. They really limit the number of paddlers that can be on the lakes. They only have a set number of campgrounds, and they're very few. So you're not going to run into many people at all. It's got that very remote feel, even on the lake that you put in on, George Lake. Our goal was to paddle up into Killarney Lake, which required doing a few portages. Crystal and Karen took a canoe, whereas I took a sea kayak. And it didn't take me long to realize why the canoe is the boat of choice in Killarney Provincial Park. It's the portages. The kayak does fantastic through the long lakes, but you get to the portages, it sure is nice to throw a canoe with a comfortable yoke on your shoulders than to throw a sea kayak. Even a beautiful glass light Current Designs kayak is still, when you're carrying it for 500 meters, you're not looking forward to having to do it on the way home. Killarney Provincial Park is made up of this network of lakes that are connected by portage trails and little creeks. It provides one of the coolest canoe tripping experiences because you can go literally for miles and miles into the wilderness, nothing around you. You can get to lakes that you may have only seen a couple of people that whole year.
The scenery is just absolutely amazing. Like you can check out the pictures on the internet and everything else, but to be there and see it, and the cliffs even at George Lake, right by the main campground, are just phenomenal. To get up in the morning and wander down to the beach and see that first thing. And it's good for families. It's good for hardcore backpackers. It's good for, you know, the canoe trippers that want to get out there and do the big trips. And it's just got something for everyone, and it's just so beautiful.
When you're paddling through Killarney Park, you end up seeing all sorts of different terrain. You go from having beautiful, steep, rocky bluffs to paddling through these fields of lily pads. And the wildlife is incredible. Although we didn't see a moose or bear on this trip, they're out here. There's a lot of them out here. And you have tons of beavers. I've never seen so many beaver lodges in my life. Any way you can get into this park and see more of this park is worth doing. It is one of the world's top wilderness destinations. I've had the good fortune to sea kayak in some of the world's top sea kayaking destinations, and I gotta say that Philip Edward Island is one of the coolest places to sea kayak. There's literally thousands of islands on the outer banks of Philip Edward Island, which create a maze of routes you can choose.
You know, one person go one way and one person go the other way, and regardless of which route you take, you always end up at that same area. And no matter how many times I've paddled out here, it's still different each time.
It's beautiful, and the water's always crystal clear, and there's mountains.
I love this place. I went back here, gosh, back in high school. That was a long time ago. I'm 50. And I remember just hearing that they had good blueberries, so my buddy and I drove up the old road. It's not an old road now, but it was back then. And we went on a canoe trip, and since then I've been coming back every year. I love it. There's no other place like this. The vistas are amazing. These mountain ranges are older than the Rockies. They're not as big as the Rockies, obviously, but they're older. It's all quartz. The water's all turquoise blue. The blueberries are phenomenal as well. But the vistas and the wilderness solitude is amazing. If you've never been here, you've got to give it a try. If you have been here, you know what I'm talking about.
Killarney's fantastic. This is our first time here, and hopefully not our last time.
This is my first time coming to Killarney, and when we landed at George Lake, I was just mesmerized by the water.
Been all over the world, and it's just the canoeing here, the atmosphere. It's like, you know, nowhere else in the world. So
it's awesome. Can you see behind me?
It's a very peaceful place. We find it a lot better than any of the other parks that we've been to in Ontario. We've been to a number of them, and this is our favorite at this point. So
the people who come here, the things you see, and just like the environment around you, it's amazing, and I just love it.
It re-energizes you, it charges your mental thought process, it charges your physical energy, and you have a good family fun where the family is not stuck with the TV screens and all those stuff.
And it seems to be so virgin. You know, it hasn't been spoiled at all. I like it, yes.
I think Killarney Provincial Park is unlike any other place in the province. It's a true diversity of landscapes.
I wish I could bottle it. I wish you can put "Ode to Killarney" somewhere.
It's definitely going to be an experience in your life that you're going to want, and it might even change it a bit. There's so many things that are special about this place.
It definitely opens people up to get more spiritual, I find.
So Killarney is, I can say, the spiritual place. After the 5th day, you become the part of the wildness. You feel yourself, you belong to the Mother Nature.
I think it really impacts who you are as a person, and like what you do with your life, and like where you go, and what sort of values you have.
You feel good about yourself, I guess, when you're actually out here.
11, 12 days of not checking their cell phone or their Facebook or whatever, and being able to unplug is incredibly important, and it gives them a really positive outlet for doing so.
A place where you can escape. It's a place where you can really get away from all the distractions of modern life and take it in.
Unplug, get back to nature, leave your iPods and your iPhones at home, and just connect with people.
You're out here in these beautiful places, and really you don't have to worry about anything. You can like imagine whatever you want, think about anything.
You feel like it's your home.